worth asking the question, are the Celtics one of those teams? And they exist in a lot of sports. Are they one of those teams that's just way better in the regular season than they are in the postseason for a variety of reasons? Even in NBA terms, the Rudy Gobert Jazz teams were always a team that won a ton of regular season games, but in a playoff series underperformed, I think, versus what we expected. Never really made that deep run. And you could be like, well, they ran into some really good teams. Well, if you use the regular season numbers, we thought they were one of those really good teams. We didn't think they were the Warriors, but like you get the idea. They didn't play quite kind of how it looked in the regular season, and the regular season numbers made them look amazing. A lot of James Harden's regular season teams perform like this, where win a ton of regular season games. Obviously, the Rockets teams will be the best example of this. And it's like, well, but like they ran into the Warriors. It'd be like, well, this is kind of the point. Is like, cool, like nice net rating. Also, when you play the Warriors, I'm going to take the Warriors, despite what the analytics are, despite what the regular season analytics are. It's not that the Celtics have to be one of those teams. They made the finals 2 years ago. They made the conference finals last year. But like, this is Joe Mazzulla's second year as head coach. In the playoffs, he is 12-10 as a head coach. And I'm pretty sure he's been favored in almost all 22. So like, you tell me. You tell me what you think that is. And if it's like enough games for you to be like, man, maybe this is kind of a thing where in the regular season, playing the same style and drive and kick for a ton of 3-pointers and this like balance and depth and defense and like all the scheming, like maybe this is something that works night to night. You get in a playoff series against a lot of different teams and you could be like, well, maybe it's just Miami. And they went to 7 against Philadelphia. They had to win game 6 to get there. Remember they blew that game to Atlanta? That everybody was like, how did that even happen? Like, was that game 4? Something like that? It was like a really weird, it's just been bizarre the whole time. And last night's another example. So like, I think just it's easy to wave away last night and be like, variance, Heat made a ton of threes. That's just the way it goes. Well, for what it's worth, about 90% of their attempts were wide open, as measured by NBA, shot tracking. So, like, that's not great. I'd expect a team to hit a lot of wide open 3-pointers if you give them wide open 3-pointers. And then it's this, like, lack of home court advantage in the playoffs. And they had a ton of stats about that on the telecast last night. Missoula's barely over 500. He has been given, again, a team with, like, the best rating of the last 2 years at 12-10. I think it's okay to be, and it's like, you can't just wave away this stuff. I mean, we've been doing this forever, but just, like, it doesn't mean they can't win the title. Just like, if they get to the finals and they play Denver, they can win, but would you bet on it? And they'll definitely be favored by some amount. We don't really know what it is, and maybe they won't, but they probably will. Okay, like realistically, just based on what you've seen and kind of everything you know so far about how both teams work, who would you like in the series? I'd like to bet against the Gobert Jazz teams, and I'd like to bet against the James Harden Rockets, and I'd like to bet against the Celtics team when they play a historically great team, which I think they're about to do.
Yeah, I don't even think there's a question about it. And I think the logical follow-up now is, because it's something you brought up a couple days ago on the show, which is, assuming that we get there and there is no lock that this is going to happen, the Knicks might not get out of this series against Philadelphia. 5.5-point dogs on the road tonight in Philly in Game 3. Knicks Celtics in the Eastern Conference Final. Like you said a couple days ago, you could see a scenario where the Knicks win that series. I think what happened last night, like, say the Celtics are better than the Knicks. The Knicks are. Is this fair to say what I'm about to say? Like the Knicks are tougher than the Celtics.
Well, I think the Knicks are tougher than like every team, honestly. I think that's like their thing, right?
Maybe not like Denver, but
the
like
Celtics are much
that,
more
like,
talented.
Maybe. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, right. And tougher is like a weird word because it's like, I mean, the Celtics do have like great two-way players on their team. Like, it's like, are you saying like Drew Holiday's not tough? Like Derek White's not tough? Like, these are great, like first team all defense, gritty players. But I understand what you mean. And it's like, it's okay to think that in close games, this team's not going to play great. And as the series goes on, they're going to dump a couple games that they shouldn't. And that the coach might be questionable in a lot of ways. It's okay to wonder all of these things. And if you're like, yeah, I agree. Okay, but that's just, there's a lot of like Celtics apologist going on right now, like on social media and after the game. And it's like easy to just be like, well, they made a lot of threes. Great. Like the finals, honestly, like I don't even want to say anything else. The finals, like I kind of hope that, I don't hope they play in the finals because I think the Nuggets would smash everybody else. But if they play in the finals, we'll have a price, we'll all bet, and we'll find out. And I might be wrong. Like, this is not some guarantee. As I like Kevin O'Connor, he's right for the radio. Like, he's like, they would sweep the Celtics. Be like, I'm not making such a bold proclamation. I hope they sweep the Celtics if they play. But I wouldn't make such a bold proclamation. The Celtics can definitely win that series. I'll be betting Denver. I have Denver forever for crazy amounts at big prices, bigger than what we'll have in the finals. If they play in the finals, I'm going to bet Denver again. And just like, and we'll see what happens. And I can be wrong, but like, I don't know how you consume this and analyze it and come to another conclusion.
So, okay, so that's like kind of like long term with the Boston Celtics. Let's spend a minute talking about this series now.
Sure.
Difference, obviously, between last year and this, a couple differences, right? Like Miami won the first two games, and Boston last year went up 3-0. Then Boston won three. Miami wins game seven. Tatum gets hurt, whatever. So, not the same series. Also, like Jimmy Butler's not playing. Like Miami's best player is injured and is not playing. We look at the point spread for the next game, and Boston's a 9.5-point road favorite. And it's really interesting, right? Because Eric. Normally, coaches, and Spoelstra's savvy enough that it's not, he will never say anything in a way that, like, takes a shot at the other team. He's been doing this for too long. But his whole thing is, yeah, like, okay, you're going to give us all these 3-pointers. Okay, like, we'll take a million threes. Like, we're not going to let you do what you did to us in game one. And game one, the Celtics made, like, 20-plus threes, and Miami made 12. Last night, Miami took a billion threes, and they made 23 of them, like a franchise record.
We didn't wave away the Celtics. By the way, when they made a lot of threes, we didn't say like, well, variance, they won't make as many threes. No, like that. No, they get all the excuses. It's cool. Like it's good. No, they're just supposed to make 25 threes a game. That's like how it's supposed to work. But then when Miami does it, it's like variance. Nah, like not good enough. Why do we do this? It's if you love Boston, it's okay to admit that they're flawed. I think Denver's flawed. I just think they're going to win. Like, that's okay. But I admit that I think they have flaws. It's okay. Like, everybody doesn't have to get so defensive about this. Like, I think the Celtics are a really good team. You can't watch this stuff and not just be like, like, what's going on? Like, favorite in 22 games and you're 12-10 and you lose all the time as a big favorite to Atlanta, Philly, this year, Miami, last year, Miami. Like, it's okay. It's okay to just be like, something's up. It's okay. It's like a funny point spread to see. We know Giannis is out, but we know how the first two games were lined. Like the Pacers, who have zero postseason experience aside of Siakam, basically, who scored about 900 points in the series. 5.5-point home favorites against Giannis-less Milwaukee. That's the assumption being made in the betting market. And a high total because this game's actually been one of those games that's had scoring in it. I want to ask you about who you like the rest of the series, obviously. And I'm sure you've noticed, like, the low number of shots Tyrese Halliburton has been taking, gone under his points prop twice, if this is something that's kind of interested you as well. So Pacers, Bucks, and also Halliburton props.
Yeah. But on top of the Giannis thing, Chris Middleton didn't practice today. We saw him hurt his right ankle. This isn't the same. Yeah, this is the same ankle. This is not the same ankle that cost him, a month or so where he was constantly getting managed and all that. That's huge. And Middleton has been really slow to recover. So, and Indy has killed them. They are out wide open, three-pointing them by a ton. They're outscoring with the rim. They're outscoring them in transition. They're literally getting all the easy stuff over them. Meanwhile, like the Dame pick-and-roll stuff just runs out of gas. They brought Miles Turner up in coverages more, and he was so good in that. They cut down Dame's pick-and-roll game substantially. They made Dame be really off-ball. That was not when he's at his best. His handling's way down. The Pacers kind of got him figured out. I'm in on the Indy stuff early. I might hit it again. Like I was a chicken on not betting Pacers yesterday because they had so many advantages in game one that didn't come to fruition, and they did. 131 half-court offensive rating in game two. They looked really good and they're really equipped without the rim pressure from Giannis. It's such a big deal. So I actually think Indiana could cover tomorrow.
Playoffs started to get like a Stanley Cup final prediction. What team did you like to win the Stanley Cup before the playoffs started? And if you had to do it again right now, would you change your opinion?
Well, yeah, because the team that I picked is the Dallas Stars. They are the only team that is down 0-2 after being at home. So heading to Vegas in a 2-0 hole is tough sledding for Stanley Cup favorites. That being said, I still like Dallas. I think they've still got a shot in that series. I think it's going to be a close one. They obviously have to start digging up. But if you're going to jump on that train right now, the value has never been higher than it is. I think that we checked this morning and it was like plus 2,500 to win the Stanley Cup. Hell yeah. Absolutely hell yeah. Jump on that train. I still think that Dallas is a really good team. They have one of the best offenses in all of hockey. We haven't really seen it yet. They didn't score at 5-on-5 in game 2. Jason Robertson's goal came on the power play. We have yet to see the best of the Dallas Stars, and you can make a case that the defensive play and defensive structure of the Vegas Golden Knights is preventing them from hitting their peak. But I think Dallas is too good to be as quiet as they've looked through 2 games.